Marketing and metrics. Metrics and marketing. They're almost synonymous today, right? Marketing and metrics are spouted always as super important and needing to have. And they are. But the problem is a lot of our metrics today are kind of fluffy, right? Let's be honest, they're kind of fluffy. We're tracking things like likes and shares and comments. We'll put some sort of equation together and say, this was my percentage of engagement. And the reality is that sales and the business don't really care about those, right? Sure, your brand is growing and it's positive and people are talking about our marketing stuff, but that doesn't drive revenue. That doesn't drive footfall, right? That doesn't impact the business's bottom line. We've kind of adapted to this by doing things like lead scoring and adding that in there, but most of our models today are pretty arbitrary and they're opinion-based, right? I think a webinar is worth 50 points and a website visit's worth 1 and an email open's worth 5. And when somebody hits 100, they're an MQL, marketing qualified lead, give them to sales. And sales says, well, I never had any say in that, and I don't agree with you that that person's qualified. And so maybe you involve them, maybe you don't as we go through that. Some people have more advanced lead scoring systems, but we've done that, and if we're lucky, we're saying we generated this many marketing qualified leads, right? And we're stopping there. And we're still not tracking all the way even to opportunities generated by the leads that we generated as marketing. And so we're still not getting to any kind of ROI, right? ROI at its basics is how much money you made, which means you have to, at a bare minimum, get to how many opportunities you generated and what was the potential revenue of those, ideally to how much money you actually made, and then over how much you spent as marketing to make that money, right? And that gets us to our return on marketing investment. So let's look at kind of a simple equation example of this as we go through it, right? So today we'd say, well, it cost me $10 to acquire a lead. And then sales turns around and sells a $20 deal. We would then turn around and say, if you can track that far to actually profit, you would say, woohoo, we get a 200% ROI. For every dollar I spent, I made 2. And that we would stop and we would high five each other and say, we are doing good, we should do more of that, and just stop there. But is that really a 200% ROI? For some of you it is. For some of you that's as simple as the equation and that's the reality. For most of us though, that's not. Right, we have the cost of lead acquisition, $10. Sales sells a $20 deal. Yep, same equation there. But what about our onboarding costs? What about our cost to host the customer? Right, what are those hidden costs as a part of the service that we need to take into account? Oh, there's $40 onboarding costs on that. And we have a payback period of 2 years to make that back based on our current revenue model. And so, in year 1 and year 2, we make more money. So at the start of the sale, I'm down $30. And so at the end of year 1, I'm still down $10. And then at the end of year 2, I finally made money off of that customer. So at the end of year 2, I'm actually at 110% ROI. Why is this important? Why am I bringing this out? Well, because if a customer churns out before year 2, we've lost money. That was a bad deal for the business. And yet sales and marketing, if we stop in scenario 1, we're high-fiving, I sold a deal and we generated 200% ROI. That's not the reality of it as we look at it. And so the reason we do that is we've drawn walls between it, right? Marketing says, well, we generated these leads. Sales says, well, I sold this and it's product's fault. Product didn't deliver. Or did sales oversell the deal, right? And so product's pointing back at sales. And sales is saying, well, marketing didn't qualify the right kind of leads for me. And so we're pointing fingers all the time versus working together towards these new common metrics that we should be measuring against. So what metrics should you be measuring against? What metrics should you care about? Well, the first one is your cost of customer acquisition, right? Your CAC. And so this is the sum of all sales and marketing expenses over the number of new customers that you're adding. You need to know this so that then you can look at the channels and you know how much you can spend on them per customer to drive acquisition. We need to understand our customer lifetime. Then out of that, we need to get to our LTV or our lifetime value. And LTV can be a little tricky to calculate, right? You need to find the right equation for your business. You might need to take into account things like revenue, things like churn rate, things like your gross margin. So LTV can be a little complicated. This is a simple one, avenue revenue per account or avenue revenue per customer or as you go through that user over churn rate. Once we have those, we need to measure LTV versus CAC, right? And we want that to be greater than 3 and focus on driving that up. And our last one that we really need to understand, especially as marketers, is what's the months to recover our CAC? What's our payback period, right? We need to know that because then I know that Once I acquire a customer and they buy, I need them to stick around for this long of a time to at least have that be a positive ROI for all the efforts that I did as marketing. So we need to be measuring all of these things in concert with each other. So what? What do I do, right? Number one, we need to move beyond fluffy metrics today, right? Still track them, they're good to know, but don't ever take those into a board meeting, right? Those are things that marketing should care about. You can share them out, but the rest of the business likely doesn't care much about them. At a minimum, you should be doing lead scoring and attribution modeling in some way, shape, or form. Get that underway if you don't have that today. Start by at least tracking the opportunity, and ideally opportunity close won and close lost. And look at why those were close won and why those were close lost so that you have the dollars tied to the amount of money that you spent. Then really make sure you have a thorough understanding of your costs and your expenses along the way, not just marketing, but also sales is a big part of it. How much money are we spending to really acquire these customers? And the last one is track through to profit, right? Once we know how much it costs us to really acquire a customer, I need to know how much money we're making from them and what's that payback period so I can get to my true ROI for the business. So start tracking these metrics, look at those today, find the right equations for your business, and you'll start having a better conversation and being able to justify and ask for more budget, have a better seat at the table, and be a lot more respected inside of your businesses versus coming with the fluffy metrics that people are used to getting from marketing.